Okay. Fourth time is the charm. I hope. We'll see if anybody joins us here. And when some people join us, maybe we will find out if the sound works. Wouldn't that be great? Wouldn't that be great if the sound worked? I think that would be pretty cool this time. So we'll just see. The sound works. Hallelujah. Now, just give me a few moments here, you guys. I'm winging it, you know. I'm working off the cuff here, so I gotta do a little editing in the back office of YouTube. And then we can start. Then we can talk. And we're going to have about an hour. Unfortunately, only an hour, but that's okay. That's okay. We will still have a good time. We will still have a good time. Right? Come on, computer. What are you doing? Yeah. Is it okay? I think we're good. Delete the old one. You guys will think this is interesting. So if you're watching the replay, what just happened was I had to redo the stream. I had to relaunch this live stream 4 times to get it to work. And what was happening was there was no sound. Well, interestingly, there we go. Okay. Interestingly, every single one of those tries, every single one of those, there was some number synchronicity. Like the first one was 5 minutes and 55 seconds. The second one was 1:22. The third one, there was 111 viewers. Very interesting. Very, very interesting. So, I don't know, maybe it was meant to be. But, you know, it's just very frustrating, YouTube. Because the way that I set up the live stream today was exactly the same way that I did it last week. Same computer, same procedures, same everything the same. And it didn't work. So, I don't know, guys. But I'll figure it out. I will figure it out. That's what I do. So, welcome to this week's live chat. I've got an exciting topic to discuss with you guys today. Before we start, a couple of formalities. Today's the last day, you guys. Today is the last day to save 25% off both of our world-class coaching systems, the Introduction to the Journey for Twin Flames or the Manifest Your Dream Life for the Law of Attraction, the Twin Flame Coaching Program, almost 6,000 students, paying coaching students that I've personally assisted to date. And I only started like 4.5 years ago, 4.5, 5 years ago, somewhere in there. And the Manifest Your Dream Life Law of Attraction course, we've signed up hundreds already. And, you know, we just launched in June. So just use this coupon code. You got to pay in full to get the discount, 25% off. Today's the last day, guys. And then it's gone. So get it on in there, my friend. Now, I'm not going anywhere. The program is still going to be there. It's still affordable. It's still not thousands of dollars. And I still have payment plans. We will take the total price, still very affordable, only a few $100, but we break it up into 6 payments. So anybody can afford it. And if you're having trouble financially, just contact us. We work with people. And it's a cool program, guys. You get a lot of stuff, man. You get the Facebook community. There were 333 people in there the other day. 333, right? So there's the community. It's private. It's closed. Nobody can see who's in there, what we're doing in there. Your friends, family, coworkers, your boss, your spouse. Right? That's a thing. And there's no judgment, of course. We've all been there. And it's a community. It's a community. You can get in there. It doesn't matter where in the world you live. Any time of the day, from anywhere in the world, you can tag us, ask us your questions. Myself, my coach Brittany, we comb through that baby every day and make sure everybody's questions get answered. So we're actually up here working. You give me some money, I give you some service. That's the way this works. And then, of course, the world-class video coaching program, the Introduction to the Journey, 8.5 hours. And the group coaching calls, live coaching, 8 hours, over 8 hours of live coaching every week. The calls are recorded. There are book suggestions, required reading, other teachers that we're going to point you at to assist you, meditation techniques. It just goes on and on, guys. The amount of stuff you get for the amount of money is just out of this world. I know $400 can be a lot for some people. So again, there's payment plans, and we're happy to work with you. Okay, let's get to the matter at hand. I do have super chats turned on. If you'd like to ask a question, super chats are there. We've got about an hour today. Unfortunately, only an hour. I usually go for about 2 hours, sometimes 3. And I'll be happy to answer your questions. So just hit that super chat button if you'd like to ask a question. So, twin flames do not exist? Kurt, did I read you right? Yes, you read me right. Twin flames do not exist. However, twin flames also do not exist. And I'm using a double negative on purpose. Twin flames do not exist. Twin flames do not exist. How can this be? I'm going to take you deep today, guys. This is going to be a good one. And it's no wonder that I was met with some adversity today trying to launch this live. Because, I guess it could be said that the powers that be, they don't want this message going out, you guys. What I'm about to discuss with you today, the very, very deep spiritual teaching that I'm about to discuss with you. And there are elements, you could call it the devil. It's been called demiurge, right? People who bring a message like this to the world are kind of a target for this energy, which is controlled by a very tiny group of elite people. And I'm just going to say that, and that's that. So this is very important, you guys. If you're watching this live stream, I'm going to give you something extremely earth-shattering. And I want you to listen very, very closely. So before anybody asks any questions or anything, listen very, very carefully to what I'm about to share with you. So, first, a little context. I got to lay the groundwork first, for those of you that are new here, for those of you who don't quite grasp what twin flames are, and granted, there's a lot of information on the internet about twin flames, and a lot of it is very, very different, isn't it? And that's very confusing. You don't know who to listen to, and I'm just another guy on the internet, and it's like, well, yeah, why should I listen to you, right? And that's a fair question. Now, I would point you at the teaching that I'm about to share with you, which is, again, going to be very deep and very earth-shattering. I'm going to blow your mind today. So that's what I think counts. I think the teaching, like what I say about twin flames, that's how you can tell. It's the only thing that makes logical sense. However, for some people, that's not good enough. They want proof. Okay, fine. And that's fair. That's fair. Kurt, why should I listen to you, Kurt? All right. Almost 6,000 students, paying coaching students to date. I'm the world's leading twin flame coach, just in numbers alone. My twin flame coaching system is the only proven twin flame coaching system on earth. I've even got a full-time customer service department. You know what I mean? Like, we're busy, guys. This is a real phenomenon that is taking place on planet Earth, this awakening that's going on. But therein lies the interesting dichotomy, the word real, right? So first, let's do some context here. I'm going to lay the groundwork about what twin flames are, and then I will explain to you why it is that twin flames do not exist, and they do not exist. And again, I'm using a double negative there on purpose. So here is the general teaching about what twin flames are. By the way, the one thing everybody does agree on when it comes to twin flames, again, lots of differing opinions on the internet, right? About what to do about twin flames or your twin flame, yada, yada, right? But the one thing everybody does agree on, and I mean everybody across the board, is that it's one soul in two bodies, or it's like the soul splits, or it's the same soul vibration, or something like that, right? Something like that. And that is absolutely true. That is absolutely true. And I'm really glad that the most important thing about this is what everybody agrees upon. Everybody, no matter how bad their twin flame teaching is, generally speaking, they all agree that you're the same soul somehow. And you're not really sure how that works, but that's great. That's a good thing, because that is true, and it gives us the proper context to have a dialogue about this. So this is the book I just picked up on reincarnation. Everybody knows about this stuff. Of course, there is reincarnation. And I'm going to show you some interesting things about reincarnation today. And of course, it relates to twin flames. Of course, we're dealing directly with the soul itself. What do you think we're talking about, right? So this matters a lot. And this book, published in 1965, it's even got the old book smell, right? And this I found at Goddess Books on Broadway here in Denver. It's not terribly far from where I live. And I've been spotted a couple of times in there. One of the times that I was in there, I was with my twin flame, actually. And somebody recognized me. But this book, very interesting. So, Edward Casey, and he's very controversial, but on the other hand, one of the reasons he's controversial is because he's been accurate so many times. Now, is he accurate 100% of the time? No, because looking into the future, events are subjective. We can change them. But what's interesting about this book is Edward Casey would talk about, past lives, and these people, the people who wrote this book, they kind of went back and documented are there any records of these people, right? And they had to dig, you guys. It was hard to find that information, and they found it, and it lined up with many of the things he said. So it's just kind of an interesting read. Anybody could criticize this and say a million things about you're making it up, yada, yada, and that's fine. But it's an interesting context nonetheless. We know reincarnation is a real thing. Now, the interesting thing about this word reincarnation is the first two letters, re, like we're doing it again, right? Reincarnating. So the soul does that. It likes experiences. How many lives do you think you've lived? Thousands, tens of thousands, hundreds of thousands, millions perhaps. I mean, how would you know? Maybe when you do the thing that we call die in quotation marks, maybe then you'll remember all of it, right? But in this book, by the way, I got it at the bookstore on Broadway. They had it locked up in the glass case because it's so old. I don't know that this book is still in print. So here's a diagram that you guys have seen me show around on this YouTube channel many times. This is all that's going on, and I'm able to share this with you because of my understanding of twin flames and basically relativity, right? Albert Einstein, the general theory of relativity, right? And I kind of came up with this diagram on my own one day. Very interesting story. I drew this diagram, and I said, this is the only thing that really makes sense. And it was, I don't know, 4 to 8 months later, I came across another spiritual teacher using this diagram to explain like soul families and soul groups and things like this, right? And I was pleasantly surprised, but at the same time, and he wasn't saying anything about twin flames, by the way. He was just talking about general spirituality, right? Soul families and soul groups. And I thought, it makes a lot of sense, though, that he would be using that diagram. And then I found out he wasn't the only one. Lots of people have shared this diagram for many, many decades, long time, if not longer, hundreds, perhaps hundreds of years. But it made a lot of sense that somebody else was using this diagram that I thought that I had dreamed up myself. Why does that make sense? Well, if you go out your back door at 6 o'clock in the morning and look east, what are you going to see? You're going to see the sun coming up. Does the sun rise in the north? No, it rises in the east, and anybody can see that. And that's just kind of science. That's just how that is. You make observations, everybody gets the same answer, and you go, okay, that must be true. So this isn't really anything new under the sun, but what's interesting about how I came up with this is it seems kind of obvious. And my coming to these conclusions was actually based a lot on, again, the general theory of relativity, Albert Einstein. And what's interesting is the deeper you go into these spiritual practices, you find that what science, so astrophysics, relativity, quantum physics, okay, and where those things converge, they are perfectly in alignment with spiritual disciplines. So scientific disciplines and spiritual disciplines, or I should say the discipline of science and the discipline of spiritualism. Okay. For example, the mind is duality, the soul is non-duality or singularity. Well, singularity is the word that they use to describe um, the phenomenon that the universe they believe came from and a black hole. And this is where reality as we know it breaks down. Relativity is the same thing as saying duality. Relativity is this is relative to that. Well, that's like yin and yang. So right off the bat, the very basis of the scientific endeavor and where they're kind of at in trying to understand where the universe came from and the basis of spiritualism and trying to understand where the universe came from are the same. They're exactly the same. Duality versus non-duality. Relativity versus singularity. Very, very interesting. Now, that said, Albert Einstein seemed to demonstrate that time is an illusion. At minimum, time is malleable. We often say there is no such thing as time. Now, there are scientists that would argue with you, that would argue that there is time, but it depends on your perspective. And that actually makes a lot of sense. And actually, that's probably the most accurate way to describe time. So, time from our perspective in density, right here in the 3D world in density, time is malleable. And even NASA engineers can explain to you how, yeah, time is malleable. We even have to adjust the computers on board spacecraft to account for a time differential that takes place between the computer on the spacecraft and the computer on the ground. Why? Because a spacecraft is going at least 17,500 miles an hour to orbit the Earth, and even faster if it leaves the Earth. You know, anywhere from 5 upwards of 12 miles per second. That's pretty fast. And you can actually measure the difference between the two times. Time seems to pass slower on board the spacecraft from our perspective on the ground. Very interesting. And it's a very, very small difference, but it's enough that you can measure it. So from our perspective in density, time is malleable. Now, from a higher plane, Plane, a higher plane of existence, a higher dimension, which that's not just a spiritual thing. Where do you think that concept of dimensions came from? Science, relativity, right? So from a much higher dimension than the third dimension, or what they call hyperspace, there really is no such thing as time. Now, what is hyperspace? Well, you could say it's the Higgs field. Scientists used to call it the luminiferous ether. And in the 1890s, a couple of guys named Nicholson and Morsley designed an experiment to prove or disprove if there is an ether, which is a field, a medium that light needs for it to travel through, the same way that sound, for example, needs air, at least, for it to travel. And they did not find an ether. And so ever since, it was believed that there is no ether, there is no field. But Einstein did later realize that there must be some kind of malleable fabric of space. Nonetheless, in order for him to explain gravity. So we kind of stepped away from the ether for about 10 or 20 years, and then we found ourselves right back there again, but maybe more confused And at the same time, saying the word ether became taboo, like you were a charlatan if you even said ether, right? Well, anyway, now they have proven that there is a field. They just don't call it ether anymore because it's a taboo to call it ether, because they thought they disproved it, and then it became controversial because of Einstein. And then recently, as in within the last 10, 20 years, they have proven, no, there is a field, but we just don't call it ether because you're looked upon as amateur if you call it ether. So we have to call it the field, but it really is just semantics, right? It's a field. It is a volume, right? It's the fabric of space. It's like air. And NIST, the large, not NIST, sorry, CERN, C-E-R-N, CERN, which is an organization. They do a lot of things, but something that they're very well known for today is the Large Hadron Super Collider that they've constructed. I believe it's between Sweden and Norway. And if Sweden and Norway are not next to each other, God help me for not knowing my geography, but I'm pretty sure that's what it is. I know Sweden for sure is one place. It's so big, it goes between two countries. It's miles long. It's a gigantic super collider. It's a giant atom smasher. So what they've been able to prove, very interesting, what they've been able to prove is that there is this field. And think of it like this, right? So we take for granted the atmosphere, and before science became relevant, which was, I don't know, 200-300 years ago, we just took it for granted. We knew that there's wind and air, but nobody ever thought about it geometrically, perhaps, if that's the right word. We just take it for granted that there's this atmosphere. You didn't even think about it. But if you were standing still in a closed room, are you really aware that you're in a bath of molecules of substance that we call air? Not really. Now, what if you add some energy to the air? Oh, I can feel something on my hand. There must be a field. Right, it's called the atmosphere. And that's exactly what they're doing in CERN. Now, all they're able to do is exactly that. And when you accelerate these subatomic particles, you smash into the Higgs field. And you can hear the sound it makes, so to speak. It's an energy output that you read on a computer screen, but same thing. Whenever they fire up CERN, it goes against the ether. Sorry, the field, right? Or another analogy is you can feel it on your hand, right? So equivalent analogy. And here's the thing. Here's where this is going. Ever since they proved the existence of the field and quantum entanglement, a new theory has emerged called information realism. Information realism. And it's very controversial, but the people, all new theories are controversial. Okay, when they said the earth is round, they actually killed scientists for saying that and put them under house arrest. And I mean, none of that's really changed. Scientists, they stick their nose up in the air and they think they're all perfect, but then they fight over each other about 2 + 2 = 4. And it's clear that it's 4. And then after a couple of generations, everybody comes to agree that 2 + 2 is 4. That's just, that's nothing new under the sun. That's just human. But scientists, they act like they don't do that. They most certainly do. They most certainly do. And this is why I have my doubts about people like Neil deGrasse Tyson, who ordinarily isn't all bad, but when it comes to some of the more sophisticated and cutting edge science, he's going to stick with the old guard, if you will. He's kind of an establishment shill. But nonetheless, there are some very serious minds. People that don't necessarily even subscribe to a higher power, God, who are putting forth this theory of information realism, which certainly would explain a lot of things, not the least of which would be the collapse of the wave function, which could be observed during the double slit experiment. It's one of the greatest mysteries in science. They've never been able to really explain it, but information realism would. And what information realism says is that this field, this bath of energy, this higher plane, Plane, which does exist, they call it the Higgs field, is nothing more than raw information. Now, if you guys want to watch a really good video about that, if you're interested, there's an interview between none other than Eckhart Tolle and a physicist named Lothar Schaefer, Lothar, Lothar Schaefer. Lothar Schaefer and Eckhart Tolle. And watch the whole thing. Don't just watch 10 minutes and go, oh no. But do watch the whole thing. Watch it from the beginning, because the beginning, some context is established. And then Lothar starts talking. And after about 5 or 10 minutes, you'll have that aha moment about what information realism is. So watch the whole thing from beginning to end. Again, just go on YouTube and type in Eckhart Tolle, Lothar Schaefer. You'll find it. So what they're saying is the field is information. And when Lothar Schaefer made this statement to Eckhart during this interview, Eckhart was like, oh, really? Tell me more. And it was like the way that Eckhart reacted, I could tell what he was thinking. What he was thinking was, you mean information like thought? So you'll have to watch the video, but just remember that. Just remember that. When Eckhart Tolle starts, like as soon as Lothar Schaefer starts talking about information, like the field is pure information, and our 3D physical reality is affixed to this information. That's the theory of information realism, which sounds strange. The substrate of 3D physical reality is pure information, pure data. The second Lothar said that, the way that Eckhart Tolle responded, he was like, wait a minute. And in his mind, you can tell he was thinking, you mean like thoughts, like a mind? You mean information like it's a mind, like it's thought? Very interesting. When we think of form and structure, think of that word form and structure in the spiritual sense, form, right? Form could be an object like my body or this room that I'm in. But also in the spiritual sense, form can represent thought forms. Thought is pure form. Thought itself has always been referred to as form. The spiritual dimension of consciousness, the true self, has always been referred to as formless, which technically you can't even call it that. And we're going to get to that next when we talk about why twin flames don't really exist, right? And it's not that they don't not exist either, but it's also that they don't exist, right? It's neither of those. It's neither of those. So form, formless, but those are just words trying to point you at something that you can't even point at. But still, to explain these things to you, I have to use concepts. Well, anyway, I digress. The universe is mental. The fabric of space is the mind of God, this field, the Higgs field. Not terribly long ago, just within the last, 30, 40 years, physicists have come up with and seemingly validated the idea that there is this dark energy, which is what causes the universe to expand faster than light. So it's a positive force. And then there is dark matter, which is a contracting force. And dark matter is what actually holds galaxies together. Galaxies are spinning so fast that without dark matter, they'll fly apart. And by the way, if you're just joining us, don't worry. You can go watch the replay. I leave these up for a week. I leave these up for a week. And yes, Miller time, you are correct. The very first Hermetic principle is mentalism. The universe is mental. That's correct. The universe is thought, pure information. And now, guess where science has landed? Guess where science has landed? It's that the universe is mental. Idel, I will get to your question as soon as I'm done with this teaching. So just sit tight. Thank you for the super chat, by the way. So, God created man in the image and likeness of himself. Remember that from the Bible? Well, you are body, your body, mind, soul. Body, mind, soul. The triune, right? Well, the universe is physical matter, stars, planets, nebula, right? Molecules, atoms, physical matter. So that's the body of God. And then you have a mind, and science is now seeming to point us at that there is this mental field. There is this mental field of pure information. And again, ancient Hermetic philosophy, which predates ancient Egypt, the number one teaching from ancient Hermetic philosophy was the law of mentalism. The universe is mental. And so science is just, again, science is proving stuff that spiritual teachers have been saying for thousands of years. Now, if any of you are curious to know how I can be such an effective teacher when it comes to twin flames, maybe you have some context. I'm not reinventing the wheel. These are teachings that we already know. Now, what about the soul? This is where it's going to get interesting, guys. This is where I'm going to take a hard right-hand turn. Now, consciousness is the word we use to describe the soul, right? So again, you are body, mind, soul. We just talked about physical matter is the body of God. The field, the Higgs field, is the mind of God. So body of God, mind of God. What about the Spirit of God, the Father? Right? Even the Bible says Father, Son, Holy Ghost. Consciousness, the great I am, Jesus, which he represented just physical, right? Basically, a physical manifestation, and the Holy Ghost, the mind. It's even in the Bible. It's everywhere. The triune. So, this is your higher self, your oversoul in the energy part of the universe, or what you call heaven. It's really the afterlife. You could call it the before life, but there's no before and after. Because remember, when you transcend, when you go even mathematically in science, in physics, when you go to these higher dimensions, to these higher planes, there is no time. There is no time. When you go beyond physical and the field, there is no time when you go into these higher realms from our perspective. So, is it past lives or reincarnation? Is it reincarnation? Is it reincarnation? Well, from our limited perspective in 3D density, yeah. Because we are in density and our minds are wired to work on linearity. Linearity, past, future. The mind is duality. Again, right there, there's another ancient spiritual teaching. Duality, the mind is duality. Yin, yang. The Bible, it's the Alpha and the Omega, right? Okay. So this is your higher self, your oversoul in heaven, the energy part of the universe, right? It's where you go when you do the thing that we call die. The body goes away, the mind goes away. All that's left is the soul. It's like an energy cloud. Here's your past life in quotation marks. And we're just going to say the year 1750. Here's the next one, the year 1870. There's you and your twin flame. And this is your future reincarnation. Now, all of these incarnations are happening all at the same time from the relative perspective of the higher self. The higher self in heaven. Relative perspective. Relativity, Albert Einstein. Do you see how all these things tie together? And by the way, guys, I'm not just like making this shit up. I'm not just winging it. All of this stuff does tie together seamlessly. The geometry is absolutely identical to what science is telling us about the universe. This is really, really cool. And this is the thing, guys. We're coming out of the age of Pisces, which is the watery, mysterious sign, right? Into the age of Aquarius, which is this highly mental sign. It's the age of understanding, of knowing things, of knowledge. Previously, these things that I'm explaining to you were considered a big mystery. We don't know what the great I am is. We don't know how these things work. It's just a mystery. It's just magic. It's not for us to know. Well, guess what? Now we are actually constructing a scientific picture of all this. It's the age of Aquarius. It's the age of knowledge. We can actually explain the mechanism. And I could even, and maybe I'll save this for a later episode, but why there is the polarization at the mental level with your twin flame, why that is, it has to do with, you could say like the base principle of sacred geometry is one way to demonstrate it, which it ties in with even numerology, interestingly. But I'm talking like the very, like step one of sacred geometry, step freaking one, very first, right? And not any more complicated than that. This is the base reality. Twin flames is the base reality. Okay, this is fundamental. If you ever see somebody call twin flames a concept, run. It's a phenomenon. Okay, this is the explanation of the base reality. But when consciousness encounters itself on the same plane, you're going to get this polarization automatically. And whenever there's polarization, there's thought. It's mental. That's why your twin flame runs when you're in this obsessive thinking. And if you want more clarity about what I'm talking about, go watch my video called Twin Flames, Separation Consciousness, Unity Consciousness, and Detaching. It's on the homepage of my YouTube channel, and it's going to be there for a while, guys. That's how I cracked the code on twin flames. We know exactly what twin flames are. We don't have to guess. It's not a mystery what twin flames are and how they work, guys. This is the fundamental basis of the mechanics of our universe. In twin flames, you can see it right there. Again, that's how I came up with this diagram. That's how I came up with this diagram. Aaliyah, I will get to your question in a few moments. So now, again, guys, like I told you at the beginning of this live stream, I would provide context first. I'll give you this teaching, and I've given you a very in-depth explanation of how these things tie together. Now, let's talk about existence. Remember, the name of this live stream is Twin Flames Do Not Exist. You and your twin flame are simultaneous incarnations of the same soul consciousness. And a singular soul is nothing more than a holographic piece of the great I am. It's a holographic reproduction. And I mean the word hologram. I know exactly how a hologram works. I could even explain it to you, what a hologram is and how it works. So I'm using these words deliberately. Now, here's the deal with twin flames don't exist. We just talked about physical universe, mental universe, the body and mind of God. For you, now, when you do the thing that we call die, you do not leave the universe. You are just leaving the physical universe and going to the mental universe. Remember, information realism, pure information, like thought, it's a field. Okay, it's dark energy. And the lower realms, I think you would say, are dark matter, right? And there's even a duality. It's like conscious versus subconscious mind, okay? And I'm not going to get into that one today, but dark matter, dark energy, one is expansive, one is contracting, positive, negative. Everything in this universe is duality. And that is exactly what physics says of dark matter, dark energy. Now, to leave the universe, you, I don't know, go towards the light. Perhaps, maybe that's what that is. I don't know. You've heard people have had near-death experiences who explain it in this way. But when you do the thing that we call die, you leave your body, but you don't leave the universe. You leave the physical plane, but you don't leave the universe. You just reintegrate with the mental universe. But how do you leave the universe? Well, you got to return to source. Correct. Duality is another Hermetic principle, and duality is in everything. They call it the law of gender. And the Hermetic teaching about the law of gender is very clear that they're not talking about biological sex. It's like everything has a certain yin and yang quality, which is engendered in it. Engendered in it, the law of gender. But yin and yang, alpha, omega, it's everywhere. Even a psychologist is going to tell you the mind works on duality. A scientist, they're going to say it's linear, past, future. Now, to leave the universe, you return to source, the singularity, the non-duality, pure non-duality. Now, from our perspective in 3D density, your soul appears as pure non-duality, pure consciousness. But when you de-incarnate, when you leave your physical body, there is a very tenuous sense of mental duality. Very, very tenuous. So tenuous that you need the Large Hadron Super Collider at CERN to detect it. And again, that changes with relative perspective. Again, Albert Einstein relativity. But to leave the universe is to no longer be an individualized soul, an individualized holographic soul. Riddle me this. So this is really getting to the core of this inquiry now about twin flames and whether they exist or not. Because again, the question is, what is existence? Okay. Imagine an empty space out there somewhere in outer space, way out there, outside of the Milky Way, in between galaxy clusters even, just a vacuum, a complete vacuum. Technically, you cannot have a complete vacuum. I'm not going to get into that, but for our purposes, we will just say you have a perfect vacuum. Okay. It's an area of space, right? It's completely empty. So you have nothing, right? It's nothing. Now, you get a rock, a little space rock, and you place it in the empty space. So now you have a thing. It's a thing, the rock. You have a thing inside the nothing. So you have empty space, nothing, which is a place. And you can conceptualize place. Again, the mind is duality as well. Reality is duality. Again, Albert Einstein, relativity. Things are relative, duality. Okay, so I can visualize an empty area of space. It's a place. That's a concept, right? I can have a thought about it. And the thing, the rock, I can picture that too. A rock in the empty space. Now, listen carefully. What do you have when you have neither thing nor nothing? What do you have when you have neither thing nor nothing? Would anybody care to take a guess? What do you have when you have neither thing nor nothing? Well, eagle heart, that's a good stab, but it's really just a play on words. Luis, you do not have space because it's nothing. Equalitarian biologist, the Higgs plane. No, the Higgs plane is the nothing. It's the fabric of space. Divine in nature is the winner. Divine in nature. You have consciousness, which is, again, a word. To communicate these things to you guys, I have to use words. I have to use words. Doris, it's not a wave either, although that's a good guess, but it's not a wave either because a wave, it moves up and down. It's duality. It's a disturbance in the field. So, complete non-duality. I have neither thing nor nothing. Okay, if this is not making sense to you, let's try this on for size. If you were to ask a physicist, and I'm talking about a table-pounding atheist, right? Which is great, actually, because then you know you're getting what is believed to be a unbiased, if you will, explanation or answer. But you have a table-pounding atheist, physicist, and you go, hey, where did the Big Bang happen? Where did it take place? And so for those of you who guessed a wave or space or nothing, when I said, what do you have? What do you have when you have neither thing nor nothing? And some of you said space. No, space is a place, and you can conceptualize it. If you were to ask the table-pounding atheist, physicist, where the Big Bang happened, they're going to answer like this. They're going to go, well, yeah, about that. There isn't really a way to answer that question. And you're going to go, what, you don't know? You don't know the answer? And they're going to go, well, no, it's not that we don't know the answer. It's that Before the Big Bang, there was no such thing as place. Think about that for a second. Think very carefully. Before the Big Bang, there was no such thing as place. There was no such thing as space. There was no such thing as nothing, and there certainly was no such thing as thing. There wasn't does exist, and there wasn't does not exist. What? Okay, here's another question for the physicist. How do I go outside the universe? Where would you go? Can you go outside the universe? Outside the universe is a place. And I got to tell you guys, if you ask a physicist these questions, they're going to go, yeah, it really does hurt your head. Yeah, that's really the best answer we have. Yeah. Including Stephen Hawking, right? Even Stephen Hawking is going to admit to that. We just don't know. When Albert Einstein came out with his famous equation E equals mc squared, scientists, they get a hold of the thing, they start making all these predictions. One of the things that they came out with was a thing called a singularity, and it is a mathematical phenomenon where the product of this computation is such that it cannot be represented by any real number. Listen to that again. The product of the mathematical computation is such that it cannot be represented by any real number at all. You can't even write the number 0. Consciousness, the soul, is such that as soon as you say there is something for you to talk about, you're already doing it wrong. Buddhists, you can ask any Buddhist, they're going to say, don't talk about it. If you ask, what is the self beyond the body? Most people, first of all, let's get this out of the way. Most people are going to say, well, the self, oh, I don't know. Who am I beyond the body? I'm a musician. I like these things. I am usually in a good mood. I think about these things. I like this. I don't like that. And they tell you a story. It's a personality. That's structure. That's form. That's concept. That's mental. And I'm not saying that's bad, but that's what that is. What are you beyond the mind? Non-duality. Complete formlessness. What is the true self? And if you ask a Buddhist, they're going to go, shh. Don't go there. And you're going to go, I know, but well, why? We can't talk about it? And they're going to, don't even say that. Don't even say that. Don't even ask me any questions. Just, I got to go. If you keep asking them even like, why don't you want to talk about it? They're even going to shy away from that, right? Now, if you ask a Hindu, what is the self? They're going to go and tell you pretty much everything that I just told you about non-duality, true non-duality. Right? They're going to go on this long explanation like I just did, maybe a little shorter, right? Now, who's right? The Hindu or the Buddhist? Well, maybe both for different reasons. You'll often hear spiritual teachers refer to the non-duality teachings they give to you as pointings. Are they teachings? Well, they are pointings, because I can point you at something, but I can't say anything about it. As soon as I say something about it, I'm already doing it wrong. Does it exist? No. Does it not exist? No. Well, what the fuck? What do you have when you have neither existence, thing, and not existence, nothing? Can't talk about it. Guys, I'm not making this stuff up. Eckhart Tolle talks about this. The Buddha doesn't want to talk about it. Krishna, he'll talk about it, right? Rupert Spira. So do twin flames exist? Well, here's the thing. Remember, your twin flame is just your soul in another body. Every time you see your twin flame, first thing I want you to tell yourself is, that's me having another experience over there. And if you stop thinking of them as separate, they'll stop running. They'll stop rejecting you. Go watch my video, Twin Flames, Separation Consciousness, Unity Consciousness, and Detaching. It's on the homepage of my YouTube channel. Guys, twin flames don't exist because your soul doesn't exist, but it's not fair to say that it doesn't exist either, because that's empty space. That's a place. So I can't say that either. And it hurts your head to think about it because it cannot be understood. Guys, the only thing you can do is transcend the mind. Concept, duality. Some of my students, they try really hard to understand, and I keep telling them, no amount of thinking is going to help you. This is not a journey of the mind. You and your twin flame are simultaneous incarnations of the same soul. The soul is non-duality. It's consciousness. It's the great mystery. And you don't need to understand it. It doesn't even need to be understood. You experience the self. You experience that. Consciousness is the great I. The great I observes thoughts and emotions. You're wearing thoughts and emotions like a spacesuit. You're not the thinker. You are not that which asks the questions. Those are all concepts. And you cannot acquire an outcome. You already are. You just forgot. This is a journey of remembrance. And again, all I can do is point you at it. This is very deep and very esoteric. Now, before I run out of time, I got to go in about 5 minutes here. I'm going to answer these 2 super chats. Warning, if you're going to give me a super chat with a question, you might not get it answered because I got to go on time. I have an appointment. But there were 2 super chats who asked a question. I'll go ahead and answer those. Idel, hope I said your name right. Thank you for your super chat. When you tell us to ghost block and delete, how do we determine which one we need to do? No contact for 6 months, but I still look at it as socials sometimes. Right. That's not deleting. You need to erase this person from existence like you never even met them ever. You need to erase this person from existence like you never even met them ever. Like you've never even heard of twin flames. It's the detox. It's the detox. One quick side note, Krista in the chat, you are making a very valid point, and I talk about this all the time. Don't bypass the body and the mind. But the strange dichotomy is when you remember that you are the pure consciousness, it's easy to get very bypassy. So you just have to learn to walk that fine line between duality and non-duality. Very interesting teaching on that. Aaliyah, thank you for your super chat. Speaking of geometry, is addiction featured in sacred geometry? I ask because of the tendency for me to become addicted to the twin. Yes, it is. Your twin flame is an exact energetic match to your soul vibration. Exact match. And it can only be experienced and sensed. It can only be experienced and sensed. You cannot understand. But the mind, at some basic level, because of the matrixing of consciousness through the mental body, it will desire its opposite. Remember, you are polarized with your twin flame at the level of the mind. So you want that motherfucker so bad. It's the best shit you've ever gotten. And again, it's no more complicated than the polarization of consciousness in the same plane. Plane, the same plane. You're going to get that polarization. It's like a magnet. But it's a mirror that you try to move towards. When you try to move towards it, it moves further away from you. It's like a forever falling mass. It's perfect symmetry. It's perfect duality symmetry. Perfect yin and yang, okay? And you see the reflection in the mirror, and it's such a perfect opposite to you. And you realize this energetically at a very deep soul level. I'm kind of dumbing this down because I gotta go, and I'm trying to answer this quickly. But when you try to acquire, you simply push it away. That's why the detoxing is so important. You push, they pull away. At the mental level, the mind is duality. You have to transcend the separation consciousness of mind. There's no doing. There's nothing you can do or say or think or feel to get your twin flame to come back or to stop running. You have to get out of the thing nothing paradigm, completely transcending duality. They call it separation consciousness, the ego personality. It's always been called that. That's where that word came from. That's not a twin flame term, which, once again, the twin flame journey is really just the true spiritual journey. That's all this is, you guys. That's all this ever was. Nothing more, nothing less. These truths have been right under our noses this whole time. So there you go. All right, you guys, I got a jet. Thank you very much for tuning in today. Very interesting live stream today. Gigi, thank you for your super chat, guys. Have a wonderful rest of your week. I'll see you guys next Thursday. Hasta.